All right, it's 5:30. I'm going to call the April 24th Iowa City Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order, beginning with roll call.
Nicole Villanueva.
Frank Wagner.
Deanna Thoman.
Noah Stork.
Jordan Sellergren.
Carl Brown.
Margaret Beck.
Andrew Lewis.
All right. Item C, public discussion of anything that's not on the agenda. Doesn't seem like it. All right. Item D, certificate of appropriateness for 430 Church Street.
Okay, 430 Church Street. Let's do this. Is in the Goosetown Horace Mann Conservation District at this location on the corner of Church and Van Buren. This is the house. We think it's a catalog home. It's a front gable. It has a wall dormer on the Van Buren Street side. It's covered in metal siding currently. It was actually very similar to the house next door that removed its metal siding a few years ago. And they share a driveway and a smaller than adequate garage. The project currently, they are redoing their bathroom, and they would like to take this window, and they're working with a carpenter to basically make a new frame for the upper sash of that window to install it as a fixed sash window, kind of similar to the window in the bump out here. What that will do for them is allow them to reorganize their bathroom a little bit more and provide a little bit more privacy and safety with having a tub right in front of the window looking out, because it's a little bit lower than normal. A wall dormer is there in that position because it allows you to have a window. A roof dormer would have the eave line kind of cutting across here, and that would be better in a house that's a little taller, more like a two-story house or something like that, where you can have the window entirely up in the dormer above the roof line. So since this is a wall dormer, it's because it's a 1.5-story house, and so the window fits there at that eave line. The owner did some mock-ups of what this might look like. The window would stay the same width and keep the same head location. So here is what it looks like existing, and here is the mock-up with just the upper sash instead. And the guidelines that we have, I included this one about dormers just because of the fact that, you know, when we were looking at a historic dormer, in fact, one of the ways you can kind of tell that a dormer is historic or not is, you know, does the window actually fill that dormer? Is it, you know, proportionally? If you get a dormer that's like too much wall, that's usually something that was added on or revised or something like that. So most dormers, at least in our guidelines when we allow new ones, it's composed primarily of window area. We have siding recommendations. So this has synthetic siding. They're just making a small change, and so they could just match in some metal siding, and they have found a match, so they aren't concerned about that. I did suggest to them that in the future, our guidelines would not allow a complete replacement of the synthetic siding. If the synthetic siding had reached the end of its life, it would need to come off and the historic siding repaired. And so I did suggest to them that they take care to make sure that their sheathing is the correct depth to facilitate that in the future when that needs to come off. And they're working with a carpenter, so they're sure that they're going to be able to accomplish that as well. And so then, of course, they would match the trim as well. In the guidelines, we do have, you know, basically preserving historic windows. And if you're adding them, you match this type and size. And so in some respect, they're following that guideline by the fact that this house does have just a small fixed sash in the floor below. And so that is a type that is on this house. The location, of course, is a historic location, And it does talk also about if you were actually closing a window, which in a way we partially are with this project, then, matching the siding across that. So it's not an obvious change to the opening. So the staff recommended motion is to approve this project as presented in the staff report.
All right, do I have a motion? Or clarifying questions first, please. Someday I'll know the order.
You can ask questions first if
All right.
you need to.
Any from the commission?
I have one, but how are they going to match the siding? Because it is that, is it aluminum or steel siding?
I think it might be steel siding, and I don't know if they just plan to
bundle in
paint
the
the whole
garage.
thing, or,
Just because you have to get it someplace to fill that section in. I mean, I'm just curious where you get it.
I don't know,
hard to find.
maybe the carpenter has some, I'm not sure.
Okay,
They said they have a siding to match.
there you go.
Usually, a lot of the recommended motions for us come because there's like addenda, I suppose, or little additions. What is this coming to us for? Does this not meet some of the guidelines or anything like that, or?
There's no conditions because of the fact that basically it meets the guidelines as proposed. The only guideline it wouldn't meet is retaining historic openings at the size they already are, which is basically what the guidelines would have you do. But if you're altering a window, it would follow those guidelines. So there's no conditions because we don't have a window product to review
Okay.
because they would just work with that existing window.
Since they're using the upper sash.
Yeah, sometimes if they don't submit a window at the same time, then we might have, in fact, there's going to be another one where we have that condition added on or, but yeah, there wouldn't be a condition for this one.
All right, a motion?
Villanueva move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 430 Church Street as presented in the staff report.
Lewis seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All right, item 2, 602 Dearborn Street.
Okay, 602 Dearborn Street is in the Dearborn Street Conservation District, located up here. It was an interesting little house to look into. This is a bungalow. It did have an interesting change. They added 4 feet to the north side. So this sketch just kind of shows you basically what the roof line originally would have done. They just added 4 feet and at this point kicked the roof out to have the same eave height on each side. This happened before the district was created. And I'm assuming based on the plan, it was to add a little bit more room to the bedroom and bathroom and the living room along that side. The foundation is currently kind of parge coated. It's very smooth, so I don't know if this was probably altered when that was done to kind of blend in everything. And then the synthetic siding on this house at least went on originally in the 70s. I don't know if it's been replaced since then. We do know that all the windows have been replaced. And at the time that the district was created, it did still have historic windows. So I don't know when that change occurred. The current project, and it has this garage. The current project is to add an addition to the back of the house. So this is the site plan here showing the existing footprint. The new addition, it's set in from each side and it will have a step and stoop off the back. Notice that it also has an additional little kind of bump out here. It's not normally something that we'd have on a historic house. It's more like a modern house to have that kind of thing, but it is on the back. This shows kind of the, well, I guess this is just the demolition plan. So I thought I'd do the guidelines first here, just because we have a few of them. We've been through a lot of these with recent additions, distinguishing between the structures. We're setting in from the side, matching key horizontal lines such as the eave height, window height, any of the trim details that we'll talk about in a second. Using a palette of materials that's similar on the rear. Constructing additions that are consistent with the mass line and roof line massing and roof line of the historic building as well. And, you know, roof pitches and spans are all consistent. And this section continues with having the roof overhang, soffits, and eaves so that they match. Applying siding to the new addition that appears similar in size, shape, texture, and material to the existing siding on the historic building, which is interesting because of the fact that we have a synthetic siding on it. Constructing additions with materials that seem similar, and then, of course, not large expanses of wall without windows and doors. Doors, you know, we're basically matching the trim. I included this information about substitute materials just more for the applicant's information. I do believe, and we'll see at the recommendation, I don't think that we have a door product or a window product that's submitted for this one yet. So it would need to be either a wood or fiberglass door. Foundations matching, and then roof lines, again, we've talked in the past about, you know, retaining the original walls, the vertical corners of the building. And the windows, we would match a historic window. And originally when this was submitted, the windows in the new addition had a lower sill than any of the other windows on the house. And they were also kind of fatter windows than anything else on the house. And we located a window on the south side that we think is the historic window size and just revised the drawings to match. And that was a staff recommendation that they change. And that change was made between the first publishing of the agenda and this recent one. This is the only staff report that was revised between the two times we published. Oh, and I guess I didn't include the siding section in here. And I have it, so we can look at it if we need to. The siding section of the guidelines does not include an exception to allow synthetic siding on a property in a historic district or a conservation district unless that property is non-contributing or non-historic. And so that is one of the things that we talked about with this applicant during the first review, is the fact that we don't have an option to just match the existing siding. And that is because the guidelines intend that at some point that synthetic siding will be removed. In the past, we had a project that actually Frank did on a house around the market, the park by Horace Mann Elementary, and that house had like aluminum siding on it. And the way that we wrote the recommendation was that we're putting an addition on the back of this house. They will obviously have to remove some of that synthetic siding in order to construct the addition. At that time, we will note what the siding on the historic house is and then match it. And that would include the trim, you know, whether or not it has corner boards, freeze board, water table, and stuff like that. I think that the applicant thinks that it does not have a water table, that it has mitered siding, so mitered corners, and it goes all the way down to the foundation. That is a little bit more difficult to match to some degree, but they have already been discussing how to do that. So they haven't suggested any other alternatives at all either. So this shows the plan. We have, again, set in on the corners, a little bump out on the back with the door and the steps. They're relocating some of the interior steps and stuff as they do this project. And so here are the elevations. I did notice that there's one inconsistency in the drawing because we have everything aligned here and not on the end elevations. And so we'll work through that at some point as we go through the drawings because we will match all of the horizontal lines. These are the new windows shown in yellow. This is the rear elevation, so we have that little bump out. We have the main body of the addition, you know, matching that kick out that we have on the main house. Here is the south side elevation, and this is the window that we looked at as the historic configuration and just matching that sill height. It was the same sill height as the other windows. Proportionally, these might be just slightly larger, but they're similar. They're also not just ganged directly together, which is something that we make sure that we have actual structure in between them, so they look more like historic windows. So then this is the north side, and there would be one window there. On the back, there would be just one door, and they're just showing a shed roof kind of entry canopy. And all of the notes talk about the different siding and matching things. They talk about actually using a story pole to mark the lap and everything. So they do have everything set up the way that we would recommend. Okay. So the recommendation here is to approve the project with the window and door products submitted for staff review, and the siding and trim configuration matches the historic siding and trim. And it would just be understood that we would resolve that issue with the eave line. Our guidelines are clear that that needs to match, and all of our approvals talk about the approval being everything that we've discussed and the approval. So we don't need to add that in unless you need to add that in.
All right. Clarifying questions? Does the owner intend to ever remove the synthetic siding?
I don't think they have that plan right now, and I haven't met the owner, so I don't know
Okay.
anything about them.
All right. I imagine it would be hard with the window trim, and it would be a big.
I think
do.
with this house, it is potentially going to be more involved because of the fact that they increased it by 4 feet.
Yeah.
And they increased it after the synthetic siding had been applied.
Oh.
So they'll probably have to side that north side of the house.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
Beck moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 602 Dearborn Street as presented in the staff report with the following conditions. Window and door product information is submitted for staff review, and the siding and trim configuration matches the historic siding and trim.
All right. Any members of the public want to speak? All right. I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
Wagner seconds.
And I believe now we vote. All in favor? Aye. All right. Item 3, 515 Rundell Street.
515 Rundell Street, it's kind of a exciting project. It's located here in the Longfellow Historic District. It was recently purchased by someone, and it was in a pretty bad condition. We've already approved numerous projects, and we have been using some of our Historic Preservation Fund to help with the siding and trim repairs. This house is interesting because of the fact that it is a Moffett, and the extent of the house was from here to here with a garage at one point in time. And the second floor was added, and the garage was converted to living space. The owner is actually interested in converting the garage back to a garage. So she will probably do that in a future time. In fact, some of the work we've already done is in preparation for that. So here's the back of the house. So they added the second floor again, and they added this sliding glass door. And one of the things we've already approved, since we know this isn't historic, is removing this entry canopy, because when she makes it a garage, she'll remove the sliding glass door from the back of the garage as well. The current project is, because she's doing a kitchen remodel, she wants to take these 2 rear windows and replace them with a pair of French doors. And it will also have a small deck, more like a stoop and step. This is the drawing that they've submitted. So we have the existing rear elevation, and we have the proposed. There won't be any divided light condition in the French doors. It's just, and it will actually keep the same head height and width, so they would be custom doors. In our guidelines, We talk about, again, the types of materials we can use, wood or fiberglass, basically. And we can't install sliding patio doors. That's one of the things that, because it's a historic district, I think originally they wanted to do a sliding door, and our guidelines would not allow that. If a window opening is relocated, it should not detract from the overall fenestration pattern. I included that because basically by replacing some windows with a door, we're not altering the pattern of openings, just changing the type of opening. I had included in the staff report the additional requirements for how we review a stoop and step, but frankly, this is small enough and it's on the back that it could be reviewed like a deck. And so decks need to be on the back, set in at least 8 inches. This is far beyond that. The scale, it's not going to detract. It's very small, and it will be attached in a manner that will not damage the historic siding. It is a little bit wider than our normal stoop and step, just because it's fitting with a pair of French doors, but it's only 4 feet deep, so it's really acting like a stoop and step. We just require closed risers and an appropriate balustrade and handrail. And so for this one, actually, right before the meeting, I had an email, and so you have 2 doors before you. Print it out. And this one, and there's copies in the back if you want to look. This one is a wood door from Niebel. The proportions of the image here are not probably accurate with the opening, just because this is probably more like a standard product. The other one, I believe, is a fiberglass door. I'm going to see. No, this one's aluminum clad. So we would not recommend approving this one. We would recommend either a wood or fiberglass. But if you want to look at the proportions of this door in this tiny little image are more accurate than the bigger one. But if you would like to approve the wood door that they have proposed, you can. And if you'd want to give them an option in case they want to go with a fiberglass, you could do that as well. So I would change I would either just say that it is, that you recommend approval as presented in the application, period. Or you can add with the possibility of using a fiberglass door. Because we have these doors, you could say that I'm sorry. As presented in the application with the wood door and an option for a fiberglass door. That's how I would view it, if you want to approve that.
All right, clarifying questions? Do we have a motion?
Somebody feel,
Deanna, ready?
Yeah. Thielman moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 515 Rundle Street as presented in the application with a wood door or with an option of a fiberglass door.
that works.
Great. Second?
Fiona
Beck
Wade
seconds.
was
All right, commission discussion. Is there any discussion that should take place? Or any members of the public who would like to speak? All right, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Great. Item 4, 812 South Summit Street.
And technically, you should have the public speak before your motion.
Oh, great, okay. And so in this case, we will have the
Maybe, yeah.
members of the public speak if they.
Okay. 812 South Summit Street is located here in the Summit Street Historic District. It's Deluxe Bakery. We've been working a very long time to come up with an accessibility solution here. We've talked about having a lift next to the stoop. They do have a door on the side, but it opens directly onto the property line in the alley, so it's not possible to put a ramp there. It would also go into the non-commercial space, and that would be the same case for the back. You know, any entry on the back would go into the bakery operation and not the customer side anyway. And so now they have proposed a plan that basically moves the planters out and installs a ramp that will travel along the side and along this side. So they'll be replacing the stoop and moving the planters, and they will have a ramp. It will have a landing with stairs to access the door into the back addition, and then the ramp will again continue along this side of the property line. Here is the rendering from the architect showing the new stoop. The ramp continues along here with the landing, and then it continues to the sidewalk. This project does need some minor modifications and other approvals because of the proximity to the property line. It can't meet the setback requirements, but those are all things that will be reviewed within the rest of the development department. It will have a simple black metal railing. It'll have intermediate posts, and then there's also a small rail that'll go along the bottom to prevent the wheels from going off of the side of the ramp as well. So it'll all be very simple. This shows the site plan. So we have the sidewalk here. We have the first leg of the ramp along the property line with the landing. Here's steps down to the patio, which is a little bit narrower. And then there would be steps somewhere here to the back. And then we have the landing at the door. They're very wide with the steps down to the patio. And again, the planters are moved out. Our guidelines, we can approve ramps for homes, individual residential locations, as a temporary structure, and we can approve those at a staff level. Anytime when it becomes a permanent structure, it automatically comes to you. And this is only the second one that we have approved this way. The first one was for the Close Mansion for PS1, and it was a completely different design in order to fit that architecture. But otherwise, they would not detract from the historic character of the building, and to the extent you use grading. Here they have a patio that they use for dining and stuff. The Secretary of the Interior Standards number 2 and 9 relate to this project. Number 2 is retaining the historic character of the property, not removing historic materials or altering features if you can avoid that, and that new additions and alterations shall not destroy historic materials either. And it's staff finds that this would not do either of those things. It is minimal, and it provides very needed accessibility. Now, earlier today, we did get an email, and there are copies on the back, from Chad Wade, who is a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. He is a person who uses a wheelchair, and basically he just talks about ensuring the size of the landing to make it make sure it's accessible. We didn't have some of the dimensions, and so he also didn't know. It could be that it is, but he provides a link to some guidelines. He recommends a 60-inch deep or 54-inch deep landing with 36 inches or 42 inches parallel to the latch side of the door to provide clearance so that a wheelchair could be maneuvered. And this is just something that, we're assuming that this project will easily be able to accomplish all of that, but we'll provide this to the architect and owner because it's a letter that came in about the project, and The accessibility standards will also be reviewed as part of the building permit, so they aren't something that you need to worry about. It would be the building inspectors who would make sure for that. So the recommended motion for this project is just to approve it.
Great. Do we have clarifying questions? Carl wrote down the order for me. Thank you, Carl.
I'm curious, I know that this is out of our purview, but, so Chad talked about in his email about the hinge side of the door. Is that the issue? Would you ever put the hinge side?
I mean, they probably have the door configured in a way that works best for the business, as far as, opening in a way that, people can go in and out comfortably. And, but accessibility standards get involved in that often.
Okay.
But we wouldn't need to be involved with that.
Right, I was just curious.
You could ask them if they want to speak.
Yeah, would anybody like to speak about the property and the project?
I have so many customers that are basically falling down the stairs.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, it's been really troublesome for a long time that it's not accessible to all, so I'm really excited to see what happens.
So normally we would have you approach the podium and sign in to make comment, but I think we could probably just give it a pass, and we really we appreciate the update as
If you want
well.
to come and officially sign in
Yeah.
and speak into the microphone, you can. That way, the minute taker can hear you. and-
My name is Jamie Powers. I'm the owner of the bakery of 20 years. And I've gone back and forth to get a ramp for the bakery. What design works best? Do I do a lift? What do I do? How much is it going to cost? And I'm in a position now in a lot of different ways that I really want to make this happen. And I've approached Will. Will has been working with me the past year to come up with something that still makes the bakery look like a diamond, and we can also serve the whole community and have them safely access the building. And the way that the stairs are now, I'm pretty sure they were built in 1920, the concrete. And not only do I want to serve the all accessibility community, but those stairs are like, if anyone's taken them down, even now that I'm almost 50, I'm like, okay. So thanks for your consideration, and I really love what Will put together, but if we need to modify things. And to answer your question about the door, I believe that we actually modified it so that when you come up the ramp, the door opens to more accessibility. You don't have to like wheel around.
So it doesn't block you.
Absolutely not. So you come up the ramp and it's actually going to open as you walk up. And I see so many elderly people too that they'll need the ramp. I'll need the ramp. So thank you for your time. Any questions? Good.
Great, thank you so much. All right, do we have a motion?
Wagner moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 812 South Summit Street as presented in the staff report.
Villanueva, second.
Is there any commission discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing the update.
Yes.
All right, item E, reports on certificates issued by chair and staff for 728 East College Street.
Yeah, so this, I've been watching this fall apart for years. And the first time that it came up, the owners wanted to take all this down and make a new set of steps in the middle that came out the front. And because that would be changing the building and the historic character, we just could not approve that. And so more recently, they have come forward, well, because we can also help them. We can help them using our fund to repair it. Getting a match for this brick was not entirely successful. We do know that this is 2 withes of brick, so there's a wall on the inside and a wall on the outside. And this is the brick match, and we can see like the green is not a match at all. So when we approved this, we not only recommended that they try to save as much of this brick as possible, that they do not use the green brick, and that if at all possible, they use existing brick on the outside and new brick on the inside of the porch. And so hopefully that will work out. We had this is just a staff review. There's no chair review here. And this is a replacement of these doors on this side of this. They're very deteriorated and don't lock, and there's other things involved too. We had an intermediate review with chair and staff, and that was to remove the entry canopy over the sliding door on this project that we already went over. And that was it.
Consideration of minutes. Did everybody read the minutes? I thought there was a funny moment where Julie Seidel Johnson said something about the pool, and then Frank immediately left the meeting, and it just seemed, the way it read, it seemed like you were offended. I'd have to read it again to explain more, but I noticed nothing that needed to be changed.
I didn't see anything either.
Yeah, you would know.
I just, really, I don't read them, I just do a fine for my name.
Yeah. I think that's what everybody's own due diligence for themselves should be.
Yeah.
All right, item G, commission information.
Wait, you do need to approve those.
Oh, okay. Do we have a movement to approve?
Thoman motions to approve the minutes for the March 21st, 2024 meeting.
Lewis seconds.
In favor?
Aye.
All right, commission information. None?
No. I did kind of look over, and we have the same number of applications by this time of the year as we did during our all-time most busiest year.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's
Wait, can you say that again? I did not process
So-
that at all.
I'll say it differently.
Thank you.
In 2021, we had the most applications that we've ever had. And I keep a running list, including application date, of all the applications and actually all of the contacts that I get every year. And I don't remember what number we're at, but maybe it's number 33 or something like that. We were at the same point this time in that year. And so normally, in a slower year, we would not be quite to 33. We might be to 15 or something like that. And so we are on track to have a really high-level number of applications.
rival 2021.
Yeah, right.
Does that,
Applications for certificates of
Yes.
appropriateness.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought you meant for
Members.
vacancies.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 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 I'm sorry.
Whoa, people are excited.
No,
We
applications
need you to
for
repeat the whole
review.
thing. Gotcha, okay.
That's hilarious.
Well, that's
No.
good, though,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I wonder where the vacancy applications are at.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any knowledge of that?
No, at some point, they used to send them to me before they were appointed, but now they only send me the ones that are appointed, I
Okay.
think. But all of the applications would be posted in the council packet,
Oh, okay.
so
And then the maximum number of commissioners we can have is
12.
12. And how would we, if we did have 12, how would we make that work here? I've been wondering that for months.
You could take
Well,
vacation.
I've before not put Nicole down there, but squeezed you all up here. So you can fit 2 there and 8 up here. It's just tighter.
Okay. And then the quorum would
No, our quorum is 7.
It's no
no
ma-
matter, even if we only had
Okay.
5 commissioners seated, our quorum's 7.
Okay, gotcha.
So it doesn't matter. It's based on how many potential commissioners.
Does that mean you never meet?
Yeah, it would mean that you couldn't meet. So, in fact, if, that's why it's so important to fill those vacant spots. But it's difficult in a district without a whole bunch of properties.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm hoping that we might be able to,
Woodlawn are 2 of them.
we have 3.
Street too.
Yeah, East College Street, which, I mean, I have a hope for that one that I might be able to get somebody, but East College, Woodlawn, I don't know why we can't get anybody from Woodlawn because we have a couple active people. And then, yeah, Jefferson Street, and that is probably more because it's mostly rentals, and only once have we had a tenant who knew about it and did it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why we don't.
All right.
But yeah, it would be better if we had more because then we wouldn't have things like needing to cancel
Right.
the earlier meeting and change the date.
We should, I want to remind everybody that we should be gathering information for the Historic Preservation Awards, always to,
Please.
just so we aren't scrambling in August or whenever.
Yeah, I think that, so I actually thought that what we might do, a couple things. I'm hoping, well, the May meeting's pretty quick. At some point in June, we have to have our awards subcommittee start. So we are working towards that, and that's coming up pretty quickly. And they do need to have something to look at. So it would help if you guys could, drive around or look at things. And you can always compare Google images if it's something that's visible from the street. You can just look at the 2022 or 2023 Google images, whatever they have, and see if it's changed or not. And I do that when I get a suggestion to see if something's been changed. And then I also go and look up building permits and stuff, but you don't have to do that part. The other thing is after the landmark has finished, whatever the outcome is, then we might want to consider forming a subcommittee to work on, whatever the next project is.
Yep.
And so kind of think about that and whether or not you might want to be involved and, so that should be coming up too.
Yeah, I have many thoughts to share after that.
We used to, I had to go through some old minutes for something, and in the first few years when I was here, we included a line item for update on the commission work plan for every single meeting, because
You
to
forget.
some degree, they made progress every month. Now, it might have been minimal, but they did something, and the committee is active. So if we do form a subcommittee, we might have that line item, and then a committee member would just update everybody at that moment during the meeting.
Right. And I think maybe we could probably, so the work plan is for 2024 specifically. Is that correct? Are these things that we are really truly trying to achieve all in 2024? Optimistically.
However you, work through that. I don't know. I mean,
I would say let's, we'll start with one. I would say maybe we choose, like, I think the park.
well, you can't actually discuss it right now.
Okay, end
So
of discussion.
don't.
All right.
But, if you think it's worthwhile, what I can do is put a discussion section on the work plan for the May meeting. If the May meeting is long and you don't want to do it, then
Yep.
you just defer it.
We punt.
But that would give us the opportunity to discuss at that moment if you're raring to go and want to form a subcommittee.
Great.
So,
Okay,
do you want me to do that?
sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then the only thing left is to adjourn the meeting.
All right, all in favor? No, a movement to adjourn, please.
Wagner moves to adjourn.
Lewis seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.